I've got my top 4 resistance band squat exercises that you should be doing this year. First up, we got X band hack squats. Now this is a simple exercise to set up that's easy on your joints and it doesn't take a lot of equipment, but it can rival some of the machine-driven heavy squat exercises because it takes a lot of the load off of your joints and it allows you to go in a fixed path of motion while still maintaining really heavy resistance and hammering those quads. To set this up, grab yourself 2 41-inch bands, cross them over just like I got, and then you're gonna step one leg into each side to make an X, and then you're gonna have to adjust your clothes and stuff to make it so that it's comfortable. And then the next piece that we're gonna need is a foam roller, and we're gonna use this to put between our backside and the wall. And I like to get my feet out away from the wall just far enough so that when I drop all the way down, I can get down into this 90-degree or even below 90, and then squat it back up. And I'm gonna be pushing kind of into this foam roller, and that's going to guide me up and down in this exercise so that I can focus on good form, nice and slow on the way down, big squeeze on the way up, and then squeeze the hell out of those quads at the top. And this is honestly one of my favorite banded squat exercises, and you can go super heavy. So I only got a pair of green bands here, which is gonna be heavy for a lot of people, but you can go all the way up to our heaviest bands, the grays, and I like to stack grays plus greens or blues to get like serious hundreds of pounds worth of resistance. Next up, exercise number 2, we're doing some banded sissy squats. Some people call them Spanish squats, Roman chairs, I don't care what you call them. This is how we are going to be doing them. Grab yourself a 41-inch band and then an anchor point that's just below knee height. And then what we're gonna do here that you can't do with any of like the sissy squat benches or just like body weight sissy squats, we're gonna grab this band, we're gonna loop it around our anchor point here, and then we're gonna split the band in half so that we kind of form 2 little independent loops. And then we're gonna put them right around our calves, just below knee height. And we're gonna use these for the support on our squat. So make sure that you're anchored to something very sturdy that's not gonna tip over, and you trust it with all of your body weight because that is important. The other thing here is we're gonna preload this band by stepping away from the anchor point and putting some stretch on it so that it's pulling our knees into this flex position so that for me to stand up straight, I gotta stretch this band and engage my quads. That is like the crucial component of this exercise that you won't get from any other sissy squat variation or Spanish squats, whatever you want to call them. And to do this exercise, preload that band, and then we're gonna sit down like we're sitting down into a chair. So we sit down nice and low, try to get that 90 degrees, maybe a little bit below, and then push up, big squeeze, and then when you get to this point, it's gonna get super hard to straighten your legs. But I want you to force it, straighten those legs, squeeze those quads, and this is where you're gonna get tons of muscle growth and hypertrophy, and then control it on the way down, nice and slow, make it suck. Exhale on the way up, big squeeze, and squeeze it out. Now, make sure that you're choosing a band that's heavy enough to support your body weight, but I want you to be able to have it preloaded enough so that you can stretch this band and squeeze those quads into this straight-legged position. And you should be targeting somewhere between like 6 to 10 reps for just a couple of sets, and that is all it will take to get a huge quad pump from this exercise. Next up, exercise number 3 is going to be a banded Bulgarian split squat. So to do this, it's a single leg exercise, and you basically are doing, it's almost like a lunge, but we're gonna have our back leg propped up. So you're gonna need a bench, and I use like a barbell pad to kind of cradle my ankle. And setting this up, you wanna set this the platform up or your front foot so that when you're down, your quad is basically straight vertical and you get just about a 90 or a little bit smaller than a 90 on your front knee. And then you're gonna stand back up. To add some resistance to this, we're gonna be using resistance bands, and I have a Clench Footplate to help me keep my balance and stability and make it easy to switch between legs. So to get the band set up, we're just gonna drop down into our squatted position, roll that band up onto our front delts here, and then we're gonna be doing the exercise. And the key here is to keep it slow and controlled on the way down. Get yourself a good stretch in that back quad, and then squeeze it on the way up. And now, if you're more in a vertical position with your spine, like I am right now, going straight up and down, that's going to target more quad. And if you want to target more glute with this exercise, you can simply just lean forward. That'll stretch out that glute muscle even more, and you'll feel it more in your glutes. Now, this is a great exercise because it's a single leg unilateral exercise. So you're going to be able to place a lot of stress on those muscles because you're putting all the resistance into one leg. But the other component is you're going to develop balance, unilateral strength, and stability. All right, last one, exercise number 4. This is the bread and butter of all the squats. It's going to give you the most bang for your buck, and it's the most comfortable and probably the safest one to set up. You do need a little bit more equipment though. So to set up a conventional barbell banded squat, you're gonna need a rack, a barbell, a pair at least of 41-inch bands, and you're probably gonna want more bands than that to fine tune everything once you get it set up. The setup is pretty straightforward. Set up your bar to be at the right height for doing your conventional barbell squats, and then the bands, most racks nowadays will have some kind of band pegs like this that you can basically wrap the band on. I like to do the slip knot or half hitch at the bottom here to take up some slack because we are going to be using a 41-inch band, and we want to get some decent resistance at the bottom. So I use that knot at the bottom to kind of take up some slack, and then I place the band around the barbell. And you want to be careful when you have no free weights on this barbell, because if you're using too heavy of a band and you put it on one side, it can cause the other side to like lift up and fall off. So just be careful when you're setting this up so that the bands don't end up slingshotting your barbell out of the rack or something like that. So now that we got our setup, the most basic setup completed, we got a bar and we have one band on each side and it's anchored in the right spot. Everything feels comfortable. It's just like any conventional barbell squat. You get underneath of it, place that bar on the bottom of your traps, lift it up, and now you're gonna notice it's gonna wanna pull you back to wherever that band center is so that it's getting a straight line of pull down to the anchor point, and then you're just executing a squat just like you normally would. And the benefit here is you're gonna notice that the resistance is progressive, right? So at the bottom of this rep, there's a lot less resistance than there is at the top of this rep. And you're also there's gonna be a lot less impact to your joints when you're using only bands because you don't have all that mass that you have to accelerate and decelerate during the squat. And what's cool about this is that you have full control over the resistance profile of this because you have the ability to mix and match resistance bands and free weights on the outside of this bar so that you can maintain a specific strength profile. So you can go heavy on the free weights so that you have a heavy at the bottom of the squat and light on the bands so that the gradient, so you're not going as high in force as you're squatting up. Or you can do it completely the opposite, where you stack a lot of bands on this thing and it's gonna have a huge delta between the bottom of the rep and the top of the rep. And also, you're in a controlled environment here so that you don't have to like squat down to put the bands on your shoulders in a compromised weak position. You're starting with all the weight on your back in a strong position so that you can lift tons of weight in a safe and effective manner and train it to failure and get some true high quality, high hypertrophy reps. So that wraps it up for my top 4 banded leg exercises for you to do this year. If you want more in-depth workout videos, check out the on-screen video links. They're more in-depth and they'll include the workout or the exercises shown today. Furthermore, if you need any of the resistance bands or accessories shown today, head over to clenchfitness.com. We will hook you up, and thank you for watching.